Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, cage heads, to another episode of the Nic Cage Fight podcast, where we ask the question, were the kids all right? And the answer is a resounding no. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan. How are we today?
I'm pretty good after watching a young Sean Penn.
Overall, I was surprised how much I liked this movie on revisiting it.
Yeah, same. I was expecting it to be like way worse. And like it really wasn't. It's fairly inoffensive outside of like some slurs. But I mean, if we're scaling a movie from, 1982, not the worst.
I think that to a certain extent, this movie falls into the whole portraying something doesn't necessarily condone it. It doesn't really glamorize any of the slurs. It's just shit that kids say.
You mean to tell me Tony Soprano wasn't the hero of a story we were supposed to be rooting for?
Oh, he definitely was. He absolutely was. That man ate so much cured meat. How could he not be the hero?
That man liked orange juice, but only some pulp.
Only with some pulp.
No, but like really none of the characters in this movie are really likable outside of like Spicoli. Everybody else kind of has like these character flaws that are really front and center.
We've said it before, we'll say it again. Teenagers are never cool.
They're never cool, and they're also mostly idiots. And that's no offense. I was an idiot teenager myself at one time. If you're an idiot teenager listening to this, it'll get better, probably. Just hang in there. But the movie, of course, that we were talking about is Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which we are covering because it's on Nic Cage's filmography, despite about 5 seconds of screen time and no actual lines. This is a 1982 film, rated R, and clocks in at the perfect 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Which is what we all strive for. Like, you give me a 90-minute movie, I'm going to like it.
Yeah. Yep. Get your business done in 90 minutes. So yeah, I'm actually in agreement with both of you. It didn't age as poorly as I went into this anticipating, but it's just your standard coming of age comedy story about a bunch of horny teenagers. Let's get into who is playing the. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get into that, let's start housekeeping appropriately. Let's go with the director first.
Well, hang on. Shouldn't we keep our streak of always introducing Nic Cage first?
That's when I get to the cast.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I went to jump right into the cast this time. That was a personal fault. But credit where credit is due in the appropriate order, as we've laid out in the structure of the show. The director was Amy Heckerling, who also directed a number of films that you're probably familiar with, including National Lampoon's European Vacation. She also did Look Who's Talking and Look Who's Talking Too.
And look who's talking now. Producer. God damn it. God damn Wikipedia.
I always just remove all credits outside of the role that we're specifically talking about.
Yeah, no, you are correct. I am incorrect. It's fine.
But she also did Clueless, Loser, which she brought a lot of the talent from this film in for Loser. And she also directed the episode of The Office titled Hot Girl. So not a bad CV. Clueless is a classic, and Fast Times is also considered a classic. So not a bad run. Not a big fan personally of the Talking Baby movies, and they all got completely outshone by Boss Baby. So they're kind of
once you've seen Boss Baby, I mean, is there really anything to watch after that?
Not a baby based storyline. You know what I mean?
No, I'm talking about just movies in general. Like that's the
you're
peak.
Done after Boss Baby.
That's just the peak. Alec Baldwin being a baby who's also a boss. I don't know how you can top that.
Yeah, maybe. Alec Baldwin's having some legal troubles now, but we're not talking about that film. So moving on to the writer, it's Cameron Crowe. Ryan pointed out before we started recording, this was his breakout screenplay based on a book that he wrote. And Cameron Crowe wrote other films such as Almost Famous, Vanilla Sky, Jerry Maguire, Singles, and more recently, We Bought a Zoo.
Now, before we hop onto the cast, I do want to shout out the cinematographer because he's got an interesting CV. Matthew Leonetti was the director of photography for the Dragnet movie with Tom Hanks, Poltergeist, a classic, Ooh, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead, and a Catherine Bigelow movie, Strange Days, that whips ass.
Nice.
Yeah, you kind of lost me at the end though, with like, because I love the original Mortal Kombat and just despise Annihilation.
You know, I had to shout it out because it's so bad. I love bad movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst bad movie. Like, I will sit through it, but like, God, the first one goes so hard though.
Agreed.
What did you guys think of the new Mortal Kombat movie?
Didn't see it.
It was fine. I
It's
think
fine.
they worked too hard.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know why Sub-Zero and Scorpion hate each other. I already know that they do. Just give me them fighting.
It's
Fair
because
point.
they're different colored ninjas. What more do you need?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like give me some more Ermac. That's what I want. Give me an Ermac story.
Back in the day, we didn't need backstory. We know you were just palette swapping your characters because of limited memory space on the game cartridges, and we just knew they were on opposing sides.
Yeah, and we were all trying to find like smoke in Mortal Kombat 1
Mm.
because somebody and the wasn't there like rumor of like a nude code from Mortal Kombat 3?
I don't know. I don't know if that was actually tied into. So there was another rumor of a secret character in one of the Mortal Kombats that was just referred to as meat, and it was supposed to just be the graphic of one of like the skinned bodies from a fatality. And they actually threw him as a playable character in one of the weaker Mortal Kombat games. I can't remember which one off the top
Yes,
of my head.
I do remember that.
But yeah, so moving on to cast, and we know we're gonna miss some people who are probably significant. It's just this is an older film, so I kind of stuck to the names that I was more familiar with or who were primary characters in the film, with the exclusion of the one who always tops our list, Nic Cage, credited as Brad's bud, and like I said, a whopping 5 seconds of nonverbal screen time, maybe, depending on whether or not we're right about the last scene in the film.
Yeah, and is not credited as Nic Cage, is credited as Nick Coppola. Or Nicholas Coppola, actually.
He hadn't started building the brand yet.
No, I think that came next movie. It came Valley Girl.
Yeah, there you go. So after the Man of the Hour, we have Sean Penn as Jeff Spicoli. Sean Penn has been in a number of films, including Milk, Mystic River, 21 Grams. And I included this one in here because I liked the concept, even though it was goofy, but Pauly Shore is Dead.
That was actually pretty good. Oh, hi, Zero.
Yep, that's the other co-host, my dog Zero, screaming at probably trash blowing down the street outside. But yeah, no, Pauly Shore is Dead was fun. It was where they basically faked Pauly Shore's death and did interviews with a bunch of Hollywood people. Interesting flick if you're ever interested. Next up, we have Jennifer Jason Leigh as Stacey Hamilton, who we'll argue is the main character of this film. It's basically her story, but she has been in a bunch of stuff. Hateful Eight, rather recently, Single White Female, Twin Peaks, and Annihilation, just to name a few.
Now that I'm thinking about it, this might be one of the first movies that's kind of like those what I call the day movies, like Valentine's Day, and like where there's like 17 storylines and they all converge at the end. Because this has like kind of 3 distinct storylines. Well, at least 2 distinct storylines.
I don't know. I felt like it was relatively linear. It just covered the cast of characters sort of where they intersected. Now, I mean, we follow Brad a fair bit, but most of it, all the through line on all of them is Stacey.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, because
my
she isn't
internet
like
cut out for half a
Spicoli's.
second. Did we already pass Jennifer Jason Leigh? Because I got to do my obligatory Twin Peaks shout out.
I put Twin Peaks in the housekeeping for her because I know who I host this podcast with. So
Yeah,
of
she's
course.
Chantel in 6 episodes. She's pretty good at it. She
Yeah.
loves snack food.
You know, it's funny. I can't figure out what age she was in this film, but considering the fact the most recent thing I saw her in was in Hateful Eight, I was like, oh my God, time is a motherfucker.
So she was 20 in this film
Okay,
because she's 60 now. So
there you go. Next up, we have a returning friend of the pod, Judge Reinhold, as Brad Hamilton, who our loyal listeners will remember starring in Zandali, but he was also in Beverly Hills Cop. and the Santa Claus, the first one. I think he was like the
Yeah, he was like the
stepdad
mean
or whatever.
stepdad who like
Yeah.
didn't believe in Santa Claus and for some reason was really, really strict about it.
It's because he didn't get something that he asked for when he was a kid, which I think was something as lame as like a whistle. And
Yeah,
then, of
it was because
course,
he got.
Tim
I
Allen
just
gives
saw
him the
this.
whistle.
I just saw this movie like
Whistles,
4
right?
weeks ago. That's why I know it. Yeah, it was a whistle, but like just really aggressive in telling his like 5-year-old stepson that Santa Claus is not real. We will not have any of this malarkey in this household.
Violently opposed to Santa Claus stepdads. It's a staple in Christmas films. Next up, we have Robert Romanus as Mike Damone. He was in another film called The Runaways, and then I found a lot of like TV acting credits, including the television show Weird Science, Booker, 21 Jump Street, and Hooperman. I didn't really find too much besides that.
Oh, wait a minute. He was in a Dare video in 2001. Dare safety tips starring Retro Bill. He was a stranger in
Court
car.
ordered to do.
So I had to throw that out there.
No, that's a good call out. Next up, we have Brian Backer as Mark Ratner, who was also in Loser, Police Academy 4, The Burning, and The Money Pit.
No
next
notes.
Next up, we have Scott Thompson as Arnold, who I actually couldn't place in this film. But he was in Twister, Police Academy, and Loser. Who is Arnold in this movie?
I have no idea. Did you skip over Phoebe Cates?
No, I have
Okay,
Phoebe Cates
okay.
at the end.
Gotcha.
I did skip over Ray Walston, who plays Mr. Hand. My apologies.
He's got a bunch of like random TV credits. It's not that impressive.
There you go. Next up, we got Forrest Whitaker as Charles Jefferson, who is in movies such as Black Panther, Battlefield Earth, The Last King of Scotland, Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, and Sorry to Bother You. And then last on my list is Phoebe Cates as Linda Barrett, who is in Gremlins, Drop Dead Fred, Bright Lights, Big City, and also primarily because of this film, the dreams of a bunch of teenage boys in the mid 80s.
Hey, let's put some respect on Eric Stoltz's name because he is in this movie. Say it again, Ryan. You cut out.
Phoebe Cates, Gremlins 2, the new batch. Come on, put some spec on the sequel. That one's just as good as
it must have been. I must have missed it when going through the filmography. My apologies. I like both of the Gremlin movies. Don't question my loyalty to the Gremlin franchise. Okay. And I'm sorry. Who are you yelling at me about not including
Eric Stoltz?
Eric Stoltz. I did not include him. His
Just
credit
that
was
he's
Stoner Bud.
Yeah. Well, no, he has a name. It's Anthony Edwards. Oh, no, wait, that's the other actor. I'm an idiot. He is a Stoner Bud. Who is Anthony Edwards? He does not look like a Stoner Bud.
He was Lance in Pulp Fiction, the drug dealer dude.
Eric Stoltz was, yeah.
Yes. And he was also the bad dad in The Butterfly Effect. If you happen to be a
which was also same cinematographer. I didn't shout that one out because that movie's kind of boring to me.
I enjoyed it when I saw it. I know it's not considered a great film, but I had fun with the weird time travel nonsense. It was fine.
That's fair. I got one more I do want to shout out. Nancy Wilson from the band Heart plays the hot lady in the car that pulls up next to Judge Reinhold when he's wearing a pirate costume.
There you go. All right. So that's it, unless we have any more shouting to do about people we've left off. But I think that puts a cap on housekeeping.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Honestly, I could keep trolling this IMDb for a minute and shouting out random single shit, but I don't really see a reason to do that.
There you go. We can jump into it. So we open essentially at the place of worship for teenagers several decades ago, which is a mall. Music plays over the exterior of a mall. We get the title card of the film, and we have our first look at Judge Reinhold looking like a boss. Go for it, Brad. Running a burger joint rather efficiently as some sort of assistant manager, I think. Teenagers are, working, going to the movies, engaging in PDA, and pissing off old people. Standard mall stuff. But this is the first. The movie likes to throw in montages a fair bit. This is the first one. Start as you mean to continue. And we get a fun shot of Sean Penn shirtless playing in an arcade. Oh, also another scene in the montage that cracked me up was just a row of women wearing high-waisted denim jeans, and I was like, yeah, this is this is an 80s period piece. This is much more interesting to me than I think like old English settings.
Just the funniest thing to me is the way that it was shot, because it was almost shot like the opening credits of like a TV show. Because it would say the actor's name and then it reminded me of like Full House almost.
A little less contrived because they're not like cheesing at the camera or anything like that. But you're right. We pan over, a bunch of short scenes of these characters in their element essentially through the course of the montage.
Yeah.
So, yeah. At first, the audio kind of bugged me out. I don't know if it was my copy or whatever, but it reminded me of dubbed films. It seemed slightly disconnected, but then I stopped noticing it as the film continued.
Where did you watch it? Because I was there was like a library archive that I was gonna watch it on, because it was like the original VHS. But very early on in the film, the audio cuts and then comes back at about a 3-second delay, and I cannot watch a movie like that.
No, I purchased a digital copy of this film, like I do most of them.
I procured a digital copy of this film, as is my wont.
Of course.
Absolutely. I did the same as Ryan.
But we get a scene of one of the restaurants where several teenagers are working, and it's also our first glimpse of Stacy and Linda both work in this restaurant. And there's a guy who works in the stereo store in the mall that sort of hits on them and gets Stacy's phone number. Stacy also lies about her age at this point, but we don't get clued into that until a little bit later. Meanwhile, Sean Penn and his crew of stoner surfer guys all pile into the All American Burger restaurant, which is the joint that Brad works in, and they all take their shirts off after they get into the restaurant, which is an interesting choice.
Weird choice.
But it's their thing. That's their thing. In the 80s, you had to have a thing with a group of people. I guess that didn't change too much from high school. I'm far removed from then, but I do remember people clicking up pretty hard. I do like Sean Penn's character, Jeff Spicoli, who's hilarious, a complete caricature of a dude who's high all the time, and he leans into it super hard for this performance. But they get
also does a very good job of like playing a character who is like anti-authority but kind of respectful at the same time. Like you kind of get that feel from him that like kind of everybody likes him because he's like sort of respectful after he breaks the rules. Like he comes in to the restaurant, like takes his shirt off immediately. Brad comes over. He's like, how many times I gotta tell you? Like, what does that sign say? And it's like, no shoes, no shirts, no shoes, no dice. And Spicoli like kind of laughs at it and like makes fun of it and then puts his shirt back on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can get down with this guy.
I do like that Brad's follow-up is learn it, know it, live it. In reference to the no shoes, no shirt, no dice sign.
Yep.
It's great.
I also like how that job that he has, like working at All American Burger, is like the job that everybody wants. They say numerous times, it's like he's successful.
Well,
he says that he's successful.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the mindset of Brad, because we'll cover it as we go through his story, but he is very proud of his position as assistant manager or whatever it is at All American Burger Joint. Very proud of it.
There's a kid who comes up to him and he's just like, you want to leave your job and you want to work at All American. Well, I'll see if I can put in a word for you.
Yeah, he really, his high school job is central to his identity. But he's really proud of it. Good for him.
Yeah,
I guess.
I don't know.
I was gonna say, I was like, teenagers these days are not like that, but also I remembered I'm rooting for the teenagers these days who do not take any shit at their minimum wage jobs where they're being exploited very badly. So good for them. good for everybody.
Yeah, anytime I'm out and about with my mom, I have to constantly remind her they're not getting paid enough to give enough of a shit for you to not complain. Like, literally every retail or fast food worker is not getting paid enough. So you got to give them a little grace.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, but almost anybody you're going to be ever interacting with in a customer service scenario is not getting paid enough for your shit. People who
That is
yell at
very
them and
true
stuff
as well.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just by definition, they're not getting paid enough.
Exactly. Like I remind myself all the time when I'm dealing with really frustrating customer service situations, like for instance, when you have a problem with Comcast. It's like the poor person that I'm talking to is not directly responsible for me having to spend 6 hours on a fucking phone call and I get transferred and dropped 15 times. But by the time I'm there, it is very hard to restrain my temper. So I try and keep it in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, same with me and my student loans. I just have to remember these people are not the assholes that made this interest rate like 17%.
Ooh, buddy.
Yeah, because it's variable. It's a lot of fun. 2006 was a different time.
Yes, it was. So this is also, we get the scenes sort of jump around a little bit in this film. So we're going to do our best to actually try and lay it out in a linear fashion, but bear with us. So this is where in my notes I mentioned, because we have a conversation between Stacy and Linda, and that's where we get the reveal that Stacy's actually fucking 15, because the first time we see her saying anything about her age, she's lying to Stereo Guy and saying she's 19. This is not ideal because Stereo Guy is like fucking 26 years old, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like even if she said she was 19, I'd be like, I can't go to a bar with you. This is not going to work.
Yeah, it's a little dicey no matter how you slice it, but it goes, what, we'll get there when we get there. Now we get,
Technically, he could have gone to a bar with her. It still would have been skeezy, though.
well, not technically. If she wasn't lying about being 19.
Right, yes. If that was an actual 19-year-old.
But that's another thing. Like, this guy is skeezy, will absolutely demonstrate why, because that's what he probably should have done instead of just anyway. We get a scene of the high school, which this kind of cracked me up because the kids have toilet papered the shit out of the front of this school, and it's just like a random Tuesday. There's like no event that appears to be happening. The kids are just throwing shit at the front of their school.
I think it's the first day of class.
Is it?
I think so because of, the following scenes that happen.
Yes.
I think it's day one. And also
That tracks.
They make mention when Stacy is flirting with the Stereo Guy. They even make mention of she's not even in high school yet.
Gotcha.
And at the end of the movie, when Stacy and Linda are back at Perry's Pizza, Stacy mentions that another summer working at Perry's Pizza. So the duration of the film is actually an entire school year.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's why they're trashing the front of the school.
Yeah, I mean,
first day.
To me, that's normally a last day of school thing, but okay.
Yeah, I agree. This is the first instance where we get the use of a slur for gay people with somebody taping a sign on somebody's back. Again, I don't know necessarily that this is explicitly an example of it aging poorly so much as it is a critique on teenagers at the time.
I think it's more teenagers at the time. Just to be super clear, it's not that slur. It says I'm a homo, which like I can say that I sleep with dudes. It's fine. But I mean, it's not the worst. It's not the worst thing in the world. I feel like it's like in the 2000s in high school, people were saying way worse, using way worse slurs than that. So if it's like just a caricature of the times, like it's fine. It's okay.
That was my high school experience as well. And I didn't go to the high school in the 80s. I'm a little bit younger than that, but still, in the early 2000s, I got called gay for eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, but was it strawberry jelly?
Yes.
Well, that's gay. That's gay.
Yeah, grape all the way.
Yeah, grape gang.
Strawberry is a superior jelly. I'm sorry, folks.
Blackberry is the best
you're
jelly,
canceled. You're canceled.
Anyway, it's just something teenagers called each other back in the day. I don't know if they're still doing that personally. I don't hang out with teenagers. It's kind of
it's probably a good thing.
So we get another montage of kids having their first day at school, and it is kind of funny. My favorite one is we cut back and forth. So it's a bunch of stuff like girls gossiping. A guy walks into a door because he's distracted by looking at the girls in high school. But we get 2 or 3 scenes with, I think it's Rat, where he opens up his locker and he finds like gum stuck in it. So you see him like pulling at it,
So
and then we
much
cut away
gum.
from him. And then when we cut back to him, he has gum all over his chest and shirt and just is stretching between his arms. It's way over the top, but
But is completely unfazed by this. Like he's just like, his face is just saying like, oh man, this is absolutely a pickle. Meanwhile, if that had happened to me, I would have been bawling in school, leaving, because like people can't see me like this.
Yeah, I would have gone the fuck home. There's no question about it.
I would have gone
left
home
immediately.
Gone home after trying to find something to cover it with, so that nobody saw all of this gum on my shirt. Like, he's taking it rather well for high school in the 80s.
So then we get our first shot of Forrest Whitaker, who is young as shit in this film, but he plays a big, intimidating football player who is somebody apparently, I don't know if it was supposed to be like a college trying to shop for him after high school, but they bought him like a real sweet car.
Well, hey, Josh.
Huh?
Do you know what you can buy us with Patreon money?
What?
Possibly a sweet car. Depends on how many Patreons we get.
That's
definitely not a car. Have you seen the market nowadays? It is not great. They want like 16 grand for like a 1999 Volvo.
There you go. So we only need like a couple thousand subscribers, and we'll get a car.
We could buy a 1999 Volvo with 210,000 miles on it.
There you go. And we will use that to tour and do live shows with.
I think that's going to be a cramped little weird car.
Yeah, of course. If you envision that going any other way, I don't think you've been paying attention.
Can we get 1,000 subscribers? We could get like a decommissioned Yugo.
There you go.
I would be so about that.
All right. So all this talk about a Patreon. What is our Patreon again?
Patreon.com/Nic Cage Fight. For $3 a month, you get every episode without ads. There's a lot of them I still have to like upload from before we were doing this. So there's going to be like a mass upload probably this week of like 50. Do you guys know that we're at like 54 episodes?
Are we
of this goddamn Well, let's think about it. Every movie, we've done what, 23 movies? This is maybe 24. Times that by 2, ranking episodes. We threw up a couple of Patreon episodes for free. We're in the 50s of this goddamn shit.
I feel like I'm in my 50s.
I'm the same. I'm tired. I'm tired all the time, but I can't sleep and my back always hurts. Give me money so I can buy health insurance, please. Actually,
there you go. Well, you're not going to afford that. You can go out on the street and get some pills for what ails you. Let's
no, I did that before. That ends poorly for everyone.
This is also true. But what are you gonna do? Go to a fucking hospital?
Oh man, I hope the ad break right now, because that's what's coming up is a bunch of ads. Wouldn't it be really funny if it was like for Percocet? Please ask your doctor about Percocet. I never understood those commercials though. Like, ask your doctor about so and so. It's like, ask your doctor about Percocet. It'll make you real numb and want to do heroin. It's great.
I've never given my doctor advice at all. That's what I pay them to do for me. I have no medical schooling. Why would I suggest medicines to be prescribed to me? Anyway, enjoy this ad for Percocet.
All right, we're back, and I just crushed up a bunch of Percocet and put it up my nose.
There you go.
I didn't do that. Please don't do that.
I think the ad said specifically not to do that. But anyway, speaking of getting super high, we get to see Sean Penn roll into school, and he's high as a fucking kite.
Ooh, that was a good transition.
Thank you. I planned it. I planned for us to non sequitur talk about fucking Percocets right before the high scene.
I fucking love the van that they roll up in. It's got Scooby-Doo vibes,
Oh,
especially
yes, it
it's
does.
an old VW like flat front van. I don't know what the fuck those are called, but it's a classic.
microbus. It's a microbus, I think, is
Okay.
the term for that.
But we also get introduced to the U.S. history teacher, Mr. Hand, who seems like a real hard ass. You need a hard ass teacher in one of these high school comedy movies, and Mr. Hand is it. While he's explaining to the class what a hard ass tough teacher he is, Sean Penn shows up late and the door's locked, so he has to get the teacher's attention and get let in. And the teacher's really hams it up, letting him in, welcoming him to class, taking his class card, whatever it is, and then ripping it up and telling him to go to the front office. But to Rich, with what you were saying earlier with Jeff Spicoli being sort of respectful but anti-authoritarian, I took it a little bit different just because I've known people very, very much like this character in real life. And there's some of my favorite people I've ever met, but it's one of those people where they don't grasp the rules. It's not that they're necessarily anti-authoritarian. It's that they don't understand the rules or which ones apply to them. It's just not a consideration. They're not bad or mean people. They just don't get that aspect.
Still, respect.
Yeah. No, like I said, some of my favorite people very much in this archetype. So then we get a scene in the lunchroom where Stacy and Linda are talking about how many girls in school are doing the Pat Benatar look, which is kind of fucking hilarious. And then they switch to talking about sex, specifically blowjobs, at which point they simulate this on carrots, less obscene than you'd probably think, but it does catch the attention, of course, of a table full of high school boys.
This would have ended so much more poorly at my high school. Jesus Christ. I'll let you talk about the scene though, because again, this whole movie is like, it is a time capsule, but also I think that that Cameron Crowe, who wrote this, I think maybe at this point of his life forgot just how fucking vicious teenagers are.
I don't know necessarily. I don't know if it's a thing with getting old or whatever, and we just assume the kids are up to crazy shit. But I do remember in my high school days, this would have never happened because everybody was lying or not lying to everybody else, ensuring that they did the most fucking already. So an open and honest conversation about what that would entail and admitting that you didn't know just wouldn't have happened. But that was just my personal experience. But yeah, also simulating oral sex on a carrot in a high school cafeteria, wouldn't recommend it. I don't think any time period that goes over super great. This one is about as good as that situation could go, where they get mildly embarrassed when a bunch of boys cheer from another table.
Yeah, and not even like, it's just kind of like they're just kind of laughing like, oh man, we just did that. Okay, time to go to class.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I was in high school, like you would have been bullied so mercilessly, you'd have to transfer schools.
Yeah, maybe. At the very least, you'd be walking away with a permanent nickname until you graduated high school and moved away from your hometown.
Yeah, you're going to be the carrot sucker for the rest of your natural life.
Carrot sucker, absolutely.
Yeah, until like, you get into college like 60 miles away, and then there's like one person from your high school class who's just like, hey, carrot sucker, and then it happens again for 4 years.
Yeah, no, and nowadays with social media and shit like that, there'd be somebody like, you're having your second kid, they'd be like, congratulations on the baby, carrot sucker. No,
yeah, this is just like the scene from fucking Superbad, like, hey, why don't you go pee your pants again? That was like in 4th grade. People don't forget.
People don't forget. I'm sorry. There's still a person to this day I refer to as cousin fucker because of an unfortunate incident with without clear sight lines on Family Tree that occurred to somebody in high school. Not even a high school I went to.
No.
And me at the man in his mid 30s. Anytime this person comes up in conversation, because again, we all live in the same 20 miles from where we were born, I'm always like, oh, cousin fucker. Oh, good. I hope they're doing good. No malice. It's just you can't shake a nickname like that.
No. He's gonna be 80 years old on his deathbed. He's gonna be like, God, I miss cousin fucker.
Yeah. You go to eulogize him.
Now this is a man who knows how to marry his cousin.
Look,
That's a little community reference for those who get it.
well, I was gonna say, if it's good enough for Edgar Allan Poe, I mean, who are you to judge? Good enough for Rudy Giuliani too. A lot of cousin shit going on in the world. You got to pay attention, or else it'll slip by you. That's why you do have to give these people nicknames.
You got to know who your cousins are.
Yeah, also very important.
Also, don't sell your DNA.
Yeah. Also, don't do that. I would suggest you rather risk the cousin fucker title than give your DNA willingly to a very subpoenable third party database somewhere. Anyway, we cut to Mike and Rat. Now, in the early scenes in this movie, I actually started liking Mike a fair bit.
Oh
He's
yeah, I think
funny.
we all did. He's funny. He is, he's working for himself. He's scalping tickets.
I disagree. I found Mike to be a bit of a chode from the jump.
He's one of those hustler grind set guys. It's funny because his concept of what he thought was cool, I got real like old school Rat Pack vibes. Like I don't know how old his parents were, but I mean
that would track. His parents were probably in like born in the 50s, so they would consider like fucking Sinatra and all those cats to be pretty cool.
No,
yeah.
His parents were born in the 30s. He would have been born in.
So you're saying he's got old dad?
No, I'm saying that I think you're forgetting how time
is,
works.
My math is real bad.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait, my parents were born in the 50s.
Yeah, no,
I don't
my
think
math
you know
is,
what time
kind of
is.
busted.
Anyway, regardless, that seems to be that's what struck me. I feel like his concept of cool is kind of from that Sinatra, Dean Martin era, because he's given Rat advice on how to woo women. And also, I have to give him full props. Mike 100% describes in very 80s style a vibe check. So good on him for being ahead of the curve a bit there. And then we cut to that evening or an evening where Stacy says goodnight to her mom. Her mom shuts the door to her room, and then she sneaks out her window and meets up with
bails.
Yeah, immediately bails. And then meets up with Mr. Stereo, basically a Radio Shack employee who, again, reminder, is 26 years old. And then he, of course, takes her to The Point, which, as far as I can tell, is a ratty makeout place for high schoolers. And then, yeah, so 20 minutes into the film, we have statutory rape, which is a bit of a yikes. But I will say this, as far as this scene is concerned, it does track with high school to a certain extent. There's always like a handful of weird older dudes that sort of hung out with at high school events, like went to high school play. No fucking 26-year-old is going to make out
punk frontmen.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's called Jesse Lacey.
Hitting a little too close to home. But yeah, no, these people have always been around. This is a classic archetype. And like Ryan, like you were saying, if she was 19 at the time, he could have taken her to a bar if he was concerned. I don't think he was concerned. I think this was actually very thought out by him. Also, probably a bit of a pattern with him working at the mall and the fact that he ghosts her immediately thereafter. So
yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, this is not a mistake or somebody being lied to. This is full on statutory rape. Not great, not ideal,
problematic.
Yes. And then the very next scene we get is Judge Reinhold's Brad is lovingly washing his car because as much as working at All American Burger is part of his personality, he is very proud of owning his own vehicle. And Stacy gets home and there are flowers on the counter for her from, Ron, her statutory rapist. So Stacy runs out and asks Brad to hide, if her parents had seen the the flowers, and B, if he could sort of get rid of the flowers. Brad is fine with this. He doesn't pry too much. And
Yeah,
then
it seems like they have a pretty good relationship.
Yeah,
Brad
it
and
does.
Stacy.
Yeah. And then Brad goes and starts his shift at the burger joint. And we get some sort of context about his girlfriend. He's apparently been dating this girl for some time now. She also works at All American Burger with him, if I'm not mistaken.
He's mixing business with pleasure. It's not going to end well.
No, but also we learn that they haven't gone all the way, and this is becoming an issue to a certain extent, at least with Brad. Then we get another scene in the school where U.S. history guy is yelling at students about not understanding history, and also yelling about truancy because Jeff Spicoli is once again not in class.
I think it was yelling about like the Platt Amendment, which I forget what that is. I'm looking it up because I'm sure it's probably something that's like super racist.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a super huge history buff.
It's the Cuba shit.
Yeah, I'm about to say, but it's the Cuba shit. So yes, super racist.
Yep.
Some good old imperialism. So another student goes and fetches Jeff from I guess vending machines with food or something. Jeff's always hungry. Jeff's always high. So Jeff always has the munchies.
Always has a
like
6-pack
for real.
What was that?
He's just like me. For real.
Oh yeah. But it's just absolutely shredded somehow.
Yeah. Well, he gets high and he eats a bunch, but he also surfs all the time. That's a full body workout.
That really is. You need a lot of upper body strength to actually surf on a longboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both say because we live in Atlantic City, so
yeah,
I have been longboarding and I'm bad at it.
Yeah, I used to surf, not well.
I grew up surfing. I love that shit. It's great.
I grew up skating, but I thought the skills were transferable. They are not.
They're not.
Very much not. No,
I had the same
dog
thoughts.
shit on a skateboard.
But yeah, poor Jeff gets just filleted by the teacher in front of the whole class, and seems genuinely hurt, at least in the moment, because of it. But the next scene that we get actually really cracked me up because it's Christmas time now, and we cut to the mall, and there's just a mall Santa getting literally getting pissed on by kids sitting in his lap, and it's just miserable. And he goes from swapping kids for the photo op to eating in the restaurant that Stacy works in. Stacy is talking to Linda about how Ron hasn't called, and Mike is hanging out with Rat outside the theater. Rat works at the theater as a ticket taker, and Mike hangs around and sells scalp tickets. Charles, Forrest Whitaker's character, is looking for Earth, Wind, and Fire tickets. And this is also where we learn that Rat has a thing for Stacy. The restaurant Stacy works at is like directly across the mall from the theater where Rat's always standing outside.
And is apparently the best restaurant in the mall. They state that like twice. They make it known that it is the best restaurant in the mall. And it's like, it's a Sbarro's.
So Mike kind of jazzes Rat up, and he goes to talk to Stacy and manages to get her number. Way to go, Rat. It worked out fantastic.
I mean, he does have a pretty cool nickname.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Brad is cleaning the bathroom in the burger joint and rehearsing breaking up with his girlfriend. I think I thought this was really funny because he's like going over. He's like, we have to be fair to ourselves. This is our last year in high school, and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, he's wiping a mirror that in huge marker letters says "Big Hairy Pussy."
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a good laugh out of that scene. That was pretty fucking funny. And then after this point, well, actually at this point, the kid who came in earlier in school and asked him for, his help getting a new job, he's like, I had to take a piss. Can you go cover the register for me? And Brad goes out there, and there's a disgruntled customer who wants a refund for his breakfast combo.
Wait, weren't we trying to figure out who Arnold was? That kid's Arnold.
Oh,
that kid is Arnold. Yeah.
Holy shit. This is a completely missed that. Very, very little likeness to Scott Thompson and the other things we've seen him in. Yeah. Jesus. Okay, there we go. Yeah, never would have gotten that. Thank you for that, Ryan.
Yeah, I only know because of some context from a bit of trivia on IMDb stating that when he asks Brad for the job, he's holding a copy of Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke.
Mm. Okay, so the disgruntled customer is asking for a refund, and Brad's like, "Well, hold on, I have to get a questionnaire. You have to fill out, what's going on. Just give me a second." And the guy's like, "No, I don't have a second. You wasted my time with a bad breakfast. Just reach in the register and give me money," which is not how any of this shit works. But Brad is getting a bit flustered. Also, the dude ate like basically the whole fucking thing. So just going to be very clear here. This customer is an asshole, but Brad shares my opinion and doesn't play out well for him. So this is not professional advice. But
and also this man is like 40, just screaming at a fucking 17-year-old.
And so Brad tells the guy he'll kick his ass.
He'll kick 100% of his ass.
Yeah, it's 100% guarantee.
Yeah, he says, "Hey, Mitchell, you don't shut up. I'm going to kick 100% of your ass."
That sign doesn't even say that the breakfast is guaranteed to be good. It's just guaranteed to be breakfast.
It's funny that the director also directed an episode of the Office, because it gives me real strong vibes of the just like put guarantee in the email. It's like, guarantee what? It's like, it doesn't matter. Just put the word guarantee. Customers love that shit. But unfortunately for Brad, the manager comes out while this customer just got threatened, and the customer rats on Brad to the manager, and the manager fires Brad on the spot. This is why you need to unionize your
That's it. This is why unions are important.
Yeah.
And this is also the only time we see Nicolas Cage, the whole movie.
Yes, he is
the only time I
background.
guarantee he's there, because I did pause and make sure it was our boy.
Well, yeah. I mean, you had. I saw him like, there's Nic Cage.
There
I
you
can't
go.
believe this movie is on his fucking filmography, and we have to watch it. Not that
that's
it's bad.
That's 100% of the Nic Cage fight or Nic Cage content in this. So just done.
This is
here.
our guarantee.
Yeah.
This is.
We're cutting right here.
I guarantee I
story.
paused it and prostrated myself in front of the screen. But
actually, this is a decent point to, call this episode a day. I think Brad's firing is like a decent halfway point. We got to see our boy.
It is. It's also a big turning point for Brad. Brad, I don't think, is the focus of this film, but he does have a full circle sort of arc. And this is where the trials and tribulations period starts for him. So I'm fine with that too.
And then we get to start next episode with saying, like, we just saw Nic Cage. It was great.
Yeah. Now a whole cage-free episode.
You heard about cage-free eggs? It's cage-free cage.
Range-fed, cage-free episode coming up. That's for our conscientious consumers. That'll be the next episode in this. All right, what's our pluggables again? We got a Patreon. We got a Twitter.
My first pluggable is if you sign up for our Patreon, I'll teach you how to steal eggs, because them bitches are getting expensive.
Motherfuckers, $7 when I went grocery shopping last weekend. I was like, I'm not buying this. I'm spoiled by
just go to
$2
Aldi.
a dozen eggs.
I was going to say
Aldi is
still like
$3.50.
Aldi and Lidl is like the two cheapest, but we're not sponsored by them, so I'm gonna bleep that out in the edit.
Yeah,
that's fine. We can do that.
If those, I'm assuming, German supermarket chains want our business or want us to plug their business, they need to pay us.
Well, I'm gonna bleep out German too, because that's too much of a hint.
There you go.
Right. If not, I'm again, it's not for our Patreon. I will teach you how to steal your groceries. You're not going to steal all your groceries. Like, if you're spending $100, you're only gonna, like, if you're getting $100 in groceries, you're going to be stealing 40 of those dollars, like, guaranteed. It's no problem.
I'll throw out a quick little baby tip. Whenever you're getting produce and it asks you what container it is, pick the heaviest possible container. Save those pennies.
Oh yeah, don't be a fucking idiot and go to the self-checkout. Like, that's where you get the money.
Yeah, sure. Fuck it. I endorse all of this. If you need to steal, eat. Steal, eat. Do what you need to do. I don't give a fuck. I don't owe any of these major chains anything. So
and also, it's COVID time. Wear a mask. It's going to make it harder for the cameras to identify you.
And friendly reminder, Walmart pays their employees so little that most of them are on food stamps. It's morally correct to steal from Walmart.
Yeah, true. Also, as far as facial recognition is concerned, yeah, COVID masks help, especially if they puff your ears out, because your ears and your nose are the two primary identifying factors for facial recognition. If you didn't know this, now you do.
You're getting so much from this episode.
We're just gonna have to start a crime podcast, not where we cover crimes or be exploitative of victims'
true
families,
crime
but we just tell you
podcast in that we give you crime tips.
Yeah, it's a crime podcast, but we just tell you how to do crimes.
Yeah, like these are the things you need to always bring with you. Always have bleach. It's a good idea.
Have an episode that's nothing but reviews for bolt cutters.
I'm sorry, I was thrown back to the Herzog episode. It's like Herzog's top 10, the 10 commandments of making a film is always carry bolt cutters.
Well, that's a 10 commandment of life.
Yeah, it's I when I read his, I was like, this is just good advice, is what this fucking shit is.
Yeah.
You can find us on Twitter at cagefight_pod. And yeah.
Oh, I should probably actually plug the Patreon.
Oh yeah, do that.
Patreon.com/Nic Cage Fight. But you know what? Fuck it. If you do the $3 tier, I will share some crime secrets. It's for entertainment purposes only. Fucking cops.
Yeah, this does not constitute legal advice. We are not lawyers. Don't listen to podcasts for legal advice. And yeah, we'll see you next time. As always, listeners, we appreciate you.